He expressed warnings to others of a force so menacing and unbeatable, it could only be described as supernatural. He called them ghosts.
Hello there, Seraphim17 once again. This is my Call of Duty Ghosts Veteran Difficulty video walkthrough. This is Mission 11, it's entitled Atlas Falls, and I think that's a pretty cool name for a level. So at the beginning of it, you're going to be detonating some C4 and shooting some people with this scuba gun. It's not the best gun in the world, it's kind of interesting. It'd be kind of fun to see if they could implement it into the multiplayer and have underwater sequences on a level, where when you jump into the water you automatically pull out that gun as a preset, just to see what the water combat would be like. I know people would probably hate it, but I'm all for silliness. If anybody played Turok 2 on the N64, there was water in that game. There were water walls, in fact, that you walked into that took you into a water dimension, and I had a lot of fun with that game, especially running around as a velociraptor like an idiot. But that is a tale from a different time, and we're, you know, in a modern military shooter shooting people in the face with this red-dotted Remington rifle. So this mission is interesting because there's a lot of different stuff to it. It's got quite a climactic end, a lot of explosions, a lot of Call of Duty 101s, a lot of cliches, but it's kind of what you're expecting of this series. There's an achievement on this level for clearing the common room on Veteran without taking any damage, and you're not going to see me do it in this video because I didn't even know where the common room was or what it was until after I'd beat the game. And I do have a video on my channel if you're curious about that achievement. It doesn't have commentary or anything, it's just me doing it, so you get to see an idea of what is expected of you if you want to grab that. And it's worth 100 achievement points, which is really strange for something so simple and quick. Uh-oh, grenade. Like, there are achievements on the 360 that are worth 10G that are harder than this. You know, it's one of the many crazy factors of achievements. One of the things that I really have never understood so well, that doesn't bother me too much because I've got used to it, but whenever anybody criticizes achievements or, you know, tries to devalue them or say that they're shit or say that the trophy system on PlayStation is better or any of those kind of discussions, they always bring up the same thing of the value system of how we give certain achievements certain values, and how some easy things have got tons of points associated with them, and then other things that are ridiculously hard and tough and sadistic are worth a lot less, and how it kind of diminishes the value, for lack of a better word. And I do agree with it to a lot of extents, but they usually do a decent job of getting it right, of getting the ones that deserve a few more points to be quite high. Not all times, and some companies do it and handle it differently, but that is one of those achievements that's definitely against my cognition because it just doesn't seem to be worth the value. But it sounds harder than it is. You know, when you think of doing a Call of Duty section without damage on Veteran, that sounds insane and impossible, because in a first-person shooter you can't dodge bullets. You can't. They come too fast. You know what I mean? It's like, it's okay saying don't get shot, but you have to play so defensively that it'd take you hours to do every level, because you'd be restarting checkpoints so often, and you'd be laying behind barrels waiting for the computer to kill people because you can't risk popping your head up because everybody's too accurate and you can't dodge bullets. And it makes me wonder, do you think we'll ever get a mechanic where there is an evade in a shooter? And I'm thinking back to Call of Duty not Call of Duty, why did I say that? Call of Juarez Gunslinger. There was a mechanic on that game where when you got hit by a critical, a bullet started travelling towards you and you had to lean out of the way of the bullet, and it was slow motiony, quite quick, but still kind of slow. I wonder if we'll ever get a feature like that implemented. It'd be interesting to see. It'd have to be quicker though, because it was too slow. And I've got nothing against the slow-mo, but it should literally have been the bullet travelling, dodge, and as soon as it's not hit you, it speeds the game back up and you're back in control. It didn't do that, it lingered, and lingering is bad. And maybe every single shot that comes your way you could do that to. But the thing was, it would probably get annoying, frustrating, and bullshitty. I don't know. I don't know if it'd work. I don't know if something like that could work. Like, the hardest difficulty would take away the slow motion, so you'd have to dodge in real time, and then it'd get really tough. But I suppose you'd come across issues where you'd be aiming at somebody and someone going to shoot at you, and you'd be holding your hands on the analogs to do whatever action you're trying to do with your gun, and it'd immediately take over and have you leaning like an idiot, and you wouldn't know what was happening, and before you know what was happening, you'd get shot. Be careful here. There's a guy with a shotgun. Did not know he was there. He did not shoot me, thank God, but he could have easily killed me in previous Call of Duties, and in this one he decided not to. So, this is the common room. This is the area that you've got to do without damage. The easiest way to do it, guys, is just flash, use your grenades, lay behind the bar inside this room, and let your team do most of the work. If you get hit, just restart the checkpoint before any checkpoints happen or anything saved, and you should be fine. But you're not going to see that on this playthrough, because as you just saw, I just got shot. And there's a terrible flash grenade. I don't like the new reticle on the grenades. It's another thing it seems to be diminishing the value of skill and practice. Because in previous Call of Duties, cooking a grenade is a simple thing to do, but doing it well is not so simple. It's all about knowledge of knowing when the grenade goes off, how long you've got to cook it, and how long it needs to travel before you want it to blow up. So it's an estimation, and it's a skillful estimation at that. The game has essentially taken that away now, because it shows you how long it's got on the grenade and how long it's been cooked, which it's good for player feedback and it's good for information purposes, but it just takes away yet another barrier of skill, which is not a big barrier by any standards, but it's still making you feel like you're better than the average Joe, which is what these games are all about. You know, they empower you to an extent that you feel like you're better than other players, even when you're not. You know, they give you that delusion of awesomeness, which is what's kept a lot of people playing this series for so long. And the intel's directly behind me if you didn't see it on the top of the computer behind me, if you're interested in that type of thing. But there's so many things I want to talk about, and they're all bouncing around my head in like an amoebus form, and I just can't pick one of them that I want to say, which is always frustrating, because I feel like there's something I was talking about that I didn't finish or give it the full justice that I should really speak a little bit more about, and I cannot for the life of me think what. And what I do know, though, is this sequence here is quite challenging. I died a handful of times on this moment. You'll see there was a transition just then of me probably getting clipped later on here. My main problem with this sequence is I've got a red dot sight on a submachine gun. That is something you never usually want to do, because the submachine guns have recoil and don't do all that well at distance. And the consensus on this game is that the subs have been kind of nerfed. They don't have the same impact or killing power that they did in the previous games. I was kind of sad not to see an MP7. I know it's a hated weapon online because everybody used it because it had very little recoil, but it's one of my favourite submachine guns to look at, so I really enjoyed that gun on Modern Warfare 3 and on Black Ops 2, and it would have been nice to see it come back, but they decided to use some different guns, which is cool. And I've always wondered about gun DLC with a game such as this. They did it on Black Ops 2 where you got the Peacekeeper, which was a cool gun and it was interesting, and the cool thing about it is you didn't have to buy it to use it, which sounds kind of counterintuitive and strange, but when you played in combat training or when you played online, if somebody had it and they dropped it, you could still pick it up, which speaks volumes about the fact that that was originally in the game and they removed it for the purpose of DLC, which is kind of fucking douchey, but but I always look at it like this: would you be willing to pay money to have all the guns that were featured in previous Call of Duties in this game? And my answer is always yes, because, you know, going back to my gun porn tangent of, I really like guns, I do, I'm a boy. You know, I grew up on toy guns before they were a massive taboo thing. And I just do, like this, the Vepr. This is probably my favourite SMG on this game. It's got a bit of recoil, but for every other situation, it handles a lot like the 74U in Black Ops. It's got, you know, a bit of kick, it's got nice iron sights, it looks a lot like that gun that I mentioned, and it works, and I've been having a lot of fun with it. But just the notion of having guns from the other games, it doesn't even have to be all the games, it could be just the guns from Modern Warfare 3. You know, same engine, same dev team, pretty simple to patch that kind of stuff in, I would think. And then you would have access to another 20 guns, and it just increases the diversity. And Sure, people are still going to find a way to use only one gun because there's a lot of unimaginative folk, and especially if you've got a bad connection where one gun performs and the rest don't, you're going to always gravitate towards that one that helps. And especially at the moment, because the dedicated servers haven't surfaced yet, we're still playing on peer-to-peer nonsense, and I'm hoping when the dedicated servers go up, it's going to make the multiplayer that much more approachable and enjoyable, and I'm definitely going to cover it as best I can and share my thoughts. But until then, I'm going to continue to play the squad mode, because the squad mode is not as internet intensive, and I can have a lot of fun with it and learn the maps at the same time. But just keep on pushing forward, guys, shooting dudes. I should probably talk about squad mode, because I mentioned it fleetingly in the previous video, but I didn't really go into too much detail. So, squad modes is an online game mode where you can use the squad that you've built, which is your characters that you're leveling up. And you can take your characters online and their setups and your strategies, and you can either fight against other people's squads that are controlled by the computer on different difficulties depending on what you want to pick, or you can fight against a human and his squad, so it's kind of you versus a dude and his team while they fight your team and you. And there's also a couple of other ones where there's one where you kind of compete in a league. There's one where you do a wave-based survival game, which I played the other day, called Safeguard, and it's actually really good. I thought it was going to be like survival mode in Modern Warfare 3, and I mentioned this earlier in this guide, but I played it the other night, and I'm super excited to play that game mode. Not only do you get experience, so you're leveling up your character for multiplayer and things, and unlocking stuff, but they've changed it in so many good ways. Something to bear in mind though, the experience is capped for all those people thinking they can level up fine on, not fighting humans. You only get like 2,000 experience and then it caps it, which is kind of stupid, I think. I would have much preferred you to get half the experience you do in the standard multiplayer but not have a cap, so then you just have to compensate by doing more or getting more kills and things. Because as soon as that cap comes up, you know that when you're playing you're not progressing at all, so it kind of puts a bit of a downer on it, which is kind of sad. I hope they change that, but I don't think they will. But you do level up, which is cool. It's got 4 players, so you can have 3 buddies in with you, which is what the other mode didn't have, which already makes it much more appealing than it ever has been in the past. And then the maps are so huge and really badly designed that the levels feel kind of great in that mode, because there's lots of areas to sit, there's lots of areas to defend, there's lots of places to go and see, and it's where the levels really benefit the game, because instead of running around them like ghost towns in the multiplayer wondering where the people are and why they would make such enormous maps on a game that isn't Battlefield, it's working to your advantage because you're able to test out different vantage points and different viewpoints. And in between waves, what happens is there are drops from the sky where you can pick up weapons and you can pick up kill streaks and you can pick up perks, and you're leveling things up and you're picking up power-ups and stuff. They've combined a lot of really great stuff. And I was playing it, I was only in like wave 3 or 4, I was shooting some dudes, I was having a good time, I had a shotgun, I had a pistol, I was killing folks. It had a good punch to it had a good feel to it, I was having a lot of fun. And then I ran to a guy to try and knife him, and he knifed me. And he instantly killed me. So that's immediately taught me that you do not want anybody close to you on that game mode, because I was taking bullets left and right and regenning and having a good time and like not in any threat of dying. But I ran up to that guy completely fine, went to stab him, and he stabbed me. Like, my guy does the crazy lunge and the long animation, he does a quick swipe and I'm gone. Like, I died before he'd even done the animation. It was so weird. But respect the distance is what I've learnt on that game mode, and I'm definitely going to be covering it on the channel. Definitely going to try and get some subscribers in, some friends in, and play some games with those and stuff, and maybe bring some strategies or bring some interesting things that I find. But super cool game mode, really, really different, really interesting.
Get that body off the console. Let's finish the job.
But once again with squads, played a little bit more of that last night. Unlocking some classes, which is great, because if you've got a gun and you can't use its iron sight or something, you can go into squad mode, you can unlock a couple more points, and then you can buy whatever you need to make that gun work for you in multiplayer. So it's kind of a safety net for playing online, which I think is really intelligent. And the cool thing about this game is, like, I don't really care at all about my stats, so I'm not going to get into that sequence of always wanting to do well, and instead I'm just going to try and enjoy it as best I can, because it's hard to fight your own nature, but at the same time, it's that nature that was stopping me having a lot of fun with the previous games. And the one thing I've learned after playing so many of these games is that you can't control them. You know, as much as you like to think you can, you can't. It's just so luck-based. There's so many random variables. Like, you can play the same map twice. The first time you can go 40-5, the next time you can go 20-20. You can do the same thing you did on the first match. But things just don't happen the same every time you play. And this is a new game. It's got a lot of different things happening on it. A lot of things that people are trying to figure out. A lot of tricky things. You know, the maps are huge and very poorly designed. The guns are great, but they kill too fast, and you die in a second. You have no chance to respond. Like, you hardly know what's killing you. And because of the way the maps are designed, there doesn't seem to be any kind of conventional threat. You just seem to die from every angle at all times. So it's definitely going to get some getting used to. But thank you for watching. I hope it's helping, and you take care now.